Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Nation. Welcome to another episode of Defending the Boys. I am your host, D. Will, and today we're going to talk all things George Pickens, at least as far as the negotiation is concerned. I have three major points that I'm going to be talking about today. One of them is that I don't think George Pickens is quite as upset as some of you guys are making him out to be. I don't think that David Mulligetta is the enemy that y'all think he is, and I still need them to do a long-term deal quicker, like faster, like right now. I need that long-term deal still to come. Not that I think that this is the worst deal ever, um, but we need that money for free agency. We got a lot of work to do. Hey, we're gonna talk about all that. We're gonna talk about it right now.
They are an accident waiting to happen.
Stephen A, hush your mouth, talking all that noise. You can hate all you want, but we still them boys. Dirty, dirty D, Texas where we stay at. Being inside in order till you know that's where we play at. Hey, this year, this the payback. Yeah, we them Cowboys, and nah, we don't play that. Work. This is Cowboy Nation. Work. Welcome to Cowboy Nation. Work. Y'all can keep on hate. Work.
That's right, Cowboys Nation. We're talking everything George Pickens negotiation. If you know anything about me, then you understand that I talk negotiations a lot because I love negotiations. And let me just tell you, just by thinking about both sides, trying to understand where the negotiation can go, I got to be honest with you. I don't believe that George Pickens is as upset about the tag as many people believe that he is. Everybody's saying, "Oh my God, if he has a play under the tag, he's going to be upset." It's not the best deal for him. If he thinks that he can get more money, it's not. I mean, he could be tagged 2 years in a row and basically make $30 million a year. It's a little bit more than that actually, but I mean that's the basis of it, and I'm not sure that he can agree with that. If you go to my Twitter page, you'll see that I posted. I personally believe that the best deal for him would be an average of 34 million. Get right up there, pay him the exact same thing as George Pickens was paid a few years back, so that we do have two number ones, both getting paid the exact same. I think that is a good deal, an easy sale for both sides. Kind of something that can make the needle move, in my opinion. I don't know if that'll actually work. Um, I will talk. Man, there's a lot of people who try to explain what they feel the market is for George Pickens, and I really think that that's quite difficult. And I watched a 2 hour video of another creator who really broke it down from a standpoint of just understanding. Hey, look, CD was paid some years back, so his 34 million back then is actually worth a different amount today, somewhere around 20-25% increase every year. So if he was paid 2 or 3 years ago, then you're talking about a 20% increase that happened 2 or 3 years in a row. So his value would be closer to the 20% increase. So if there's 34,000, then right off the back you have a increase there of six. I mean, I said 34 million, and you got a $6 million increase in the first year. And maybe that's where they're getting their thought process of this being a $40 million conversation, and that's possible. I mean, you can frame a negotiation however you want to. I do love the fact that the Cowboys said, "Hey, go out there and figure it out. Let's go out there. Let's let everybody else," because now we take all the conversation, all the criticism, all that's out there, and we break it down to a theory that is. I mean, if you've ever taken a statistics class, an economics class in your life, then you understand supply and demand. You understand supply and demand. And that's basically what the Cowboys said. Look, George Pickens is the supply, And luckily for George Pickens, there's only one George Pickens. Now, this would be a totally different conversation if there was a bunch of people out there who could do what George Pickens does. There is not. Let's not act like there are three other, four other, five other people available. I'm talking about available people. I'm not talking about these number one wide receivers on other teams that you couldn't get anywhere. But I'm talking about people who are available, right? Who can do what George Pickens does. There's not. He's a one of one in what George Pickens does and what he brings to the table. So the supply is high, and what the Dallas Cowboys said is go figure out what the demand is. That way that there's no hard feelings, there's no look. You understand that there's not another team in the NFL who's going to give you X, whatever that amount is. Right? So we're offering you this opportunity to play. We would like for this to be a long-term deal because we like you. Let's go 3 years at boom, 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 whatever that number is. Like, my number, like I said, is to give him paid exactly what CD is getting paid now. I understand that does not take into effect. Um, it doesn't, consider the fact that there has been an increase. And so what CD Lamb was paid back then isn't exactly what the worth is now. So I understand that as far as the 34 million is concerned that I spoke about. But I still believe that it's a possibility for the Cowboys to frame it that way, especially if he's not getting $34 million offers anywhere else. Now, that's not 100% correct. There may be somebody who wants to give him $40 million, but I don't want to give you $40 million plus two firsts. So yes, I mean there are some nuances with that, and that can be negotiated as well, from what I understand, when those first comes and things like that. But my whole point is it allows him to go figure out what the market is, for him, at least have some conversations, understands what those markets are. Somebody may tell him, look, man, I give you 40, but I can't give two firsts, and then he can go back and have that conversation. Like, man, there's three or four people who are saying I'm worth this 40, but they're not going to do the 40 and the two first. Obviously, the Cowboys could use that against him, but I'm just saying he'll at least understand where he is, in this, in the process, where he's at, his market value actually is. And that's a real market value, right? What the market is willing to pay you, not exactly what people think that you're worth. I think that is a hard conversation to have. What is George Pickens worth? And trying to put a number to that value without knowing what other NFL organizations would actually pay, to me, it's kind of ludicrous. I don't really understand it. It's hard because where do you put him? I'm not going to put him in the same place that other people put him. Because yes, you can argue, oh, he's not as good as this person. He's not as good as that person. He may be better than that person. Now you're trying to rank him. Now you got to figure out what each wide receiver is currently worth, not what they're getting paid, but what they're currently worth. You got a wide receiver that got paid 3 years ago. His contract may be getting ready to come back up next year. His worth, his value, the number that he is going to be getting paid next year is probably way higher, assuming that he continued the production, than it was the first time that he got paid. And so and then it might not be. It may not be. There might be a wide receiver who declined, and hey, man, you're not as good as you used to be. I can't keep paying you X amount of millions of dollars. So this is a fluctuating market. It's hard to tell. So guessing at what the market price is difficult. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Trying to guess that market price, that's very difficult. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody else. So I say all that to say I don't think George Pickens is really as upset as everybody else said. George Pickens knows that he's getting ready to get paid basically $30 million, a year for the next 2 years, even if he stays on the franchise tag for 2 years. I mean, he'll get what, 28 this year, 32 next year, or something like that. Not exact numbers, but I mean, he's getting $30 million a year. He understands that. He feels like it should be more. Maybe he feels like it's 40, maybe he doesn't. And the thing is, I don't really know who's come out and said an exact number other than um, other YouTube personalities and actual journalists. I don't think the actual sides, the player, the agent, the team has actually came out and given a number at all. So these numbers are all just, other than the franchise tag, right? These numbers are all just kind of said, and we're kind of watching and guessing and wondering. The second thing that I wanted to talk to you about is I don't think that Mulligetta is the evil adversary to Jerry Jones the way everybody kind of makes him out to be. I think last year's problem was not with Mulligetta. I think it was with Micah Parsons. Now, this is again just trying to understand who Jerry is, right? Jerry was mad that Micah wouldn't keep his word. He wasn't mad that Mulligetta wanted to do his job. He was mad because Micah Parsons said, "Yeah, let's do it," and then said, "Well, no, my agent said this. No, you're a grown man. You said this is what we were going to do. This is what we're supposed to do. Be a man of your word." And when he didn't want to be a man of his word, Jerry decided to get in his feelings, however you want to put it. Um, but Jerry said, "Okay, fine. You don't want to do that. You want to fake injuries. You want to do all this other stuff that's going on," which that part probably came from Mulligetta, right? Probably a joint, hey, how do I get out of it? Mulligetta probably gave him some money. You can always say you're injured. You can always do this. You can always do that. Yeah, that part probably may have come from the agent, but I don't think the agent himself is the enemy. I think the problem was that Jerry and Micah had a deal and Micah reneged on the deal. And you know what? I hate people that renege on deals too. Can't stand them. Me and you have a conversation. You say you're gonna do something and you don't do it. Don't come back to me talking about because my mama said. That's real childish. And I think that's where the real problem was. I don't think that the problem was necessarily Mulligan. Mulligetta was the one doing the negotiations. He's hard nosed. I don't think he's soft. He definitely knows how to go get the money for his player. He's good at what he wants to do. When I decided I wanted to be a contract negotiator, I did so because of him. His whole story of how he grew up in the University of Texas and all this other kind of stuff. Da 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 da. He was one of the reasons why I made that decision to say, "Hey, I want to go," and I started in the Canadian Football League to be a contract negotiator. So very good at what he does. So I'm not saying taking anything away from his prowess, from how strong he is as a negotiator. I'm simply saying that I don't believe that the problem was between Jerry and David Mulligetta. Now, it makes better news. It feeds the fire. It gets people talking about the Dallas Cowboys all off season to have an adversarial fight, right? Jerry versus David Mulligetta. I just don't believe that it's quite as bad as people make it out to be. Now, with that being said, I'm sure Jerry don't want to see him coming because, oh my God, he wants all the money, right? So, yeah, I'm sure that it's not just, they're not the friendly, we go hang out every day type of people, but I am saying from an enemy standpoint, I mean, this is not Batman and the Joker. This is not Superman and Lex Luthor. This is a different situation. And the real enemy last year in the Micah Parsons situation was, in my opinion, Micah Parsons himself. That's how I feel about it. So that is my second point. My third point is I still need this deal to be done now. I don't want to wait until July to get this deal done. And the biggest reason for that, and I've said this before, that the franchise tag was not the best thing for the Dallas Cowboys. And specifically, my reasoning for that is still the fact that it takes away money from other things that we have to do in free agency. We now have $28 million on hold against the cap. That's what we have right now. That's a lot of money. And it would be great to bring that down to a reasonable number, 17, 20 even. But almost 30 is hard to swallow when you have so much other things that need to be done. So many players on the opposite side of the ball that need to be brought in. And you'll see all these conversations about, Is Christian Parker going to bring this player over, and is he going to bring that player over? Well, he can't bring them if he don't have any money, right? And I do know that it's real easy to flip the switches and kind of restructure the way that you put Dak Prescott's money on paper, the way that you put CD's money on paper, and you're going to free up some money for free agency. They're going to do that. I understand. Everybody that's in my comments and that's on my social media pages, like, they're going to have plenty of money. They could have $8 million more. That's all I'm saying. They might have $10 million more by just giving this man a long-term deal. It doesn't matter that they're going to be able to free up money and they're going to be able to do some things. They could do even more if they just make a long-term deal. This is not the best situation for the Dallas Cowboys. You're not going to back me down from that. Okay? You're just not going to back me down from it. Last year, when everybody was saying, hey, don't worry about it, this is what Jerry Jones does, the Micah Parsons thing is going to get done, I kept trying to tell y'all, no, it's not. Because I understood the nuances there. I understood that Jerry was upset, and I understood why. You can't make a deal and go back on your word. From older people, some of you young people might not understand this, but for older people, that is a faux pas. That is a no-no. That's something that you just don't do. You got to be a man of your word. Jerry Jones didn't believe that Micah Parsons was a man of his word, and we saw it in a very nasty battle. I don't believe that this is the same very nasty battle. I think that there's a lot of people who definitely know more than I do, and they've, I'm like, for instance, DLLS actually got to sit down with David Mulligetta off the mic and have conversations, and they know things that I could never know, and they don't talk about it on the air, so they know a little bit more than I do. So I'll give them that. But just from looking at the nuances of the negotiation, I'm just considering the negotiation. What is the strongest thing that the Cowboys have for them? What is the strongest pieces that George Pickens has for him? I just don't believe that this is as nasty as most people think that it's going to be. I'm still very hopeful that there is a long-term deal done sooner rather than later, but we know that it's going to come before July. I think this week what we're going to get is all of those moves that the Cowboys have spoken about with, CeeDee Lamb, with Dak Prescott, I believe, with Kenny Clark as well, and a couple of other people. They're going to restructure those contracts. It's not going to take any money away from the players. You're not asking the players to take a team-friendly pay cut or anything like that. You're just restructuring how you put it on paper so that you actually free up some money. And all those things are going to happen this week. And then the following week is when we actually start to compete in free agency. And like I said, it would be wonderful to have that additional $8 to $10 million freed up by giving Pickens a long-term deal. I don't think it's going to be done that quick. But, a man can wish. Hey, that's all I have for you today. This has been Defending the Boys. I am your host, D. Will. Follow me on Instagram. You can follow I Heard D. Will, or you can follow Defending the Boys. It's Defending the Boys with a DA on Twitter, on X rather. But on everything else, it's Defending the Boys, the normal spelling. So y'all go ahead and follow me there. Hit the subscribe button. We are still having our $30,000 mock draft competition. If you can decide the top 32 picks, the first round of the NFL draft, if you can put it down on our form, turn it in, and it is correct, we're going to give you $30,000. That's going to be fun. We're definitely going to do that, but you got to hit the subscribe button and you got to turn on the notifications so you'll know when we're putting all that together. All right. I'll see you guys next week sometime. We're going to start to talk about these moves, the structuring, and get ready for really, really, really positive free agency. Hopefully, I'll holler at y'all.